Shift your thoughts, transform your destiny, an inspiring story you must hear. The rain had been falling since dawn, turning the crowded sidewalks of Meridian City into glistening mirrors of gray. People hurried past one another, umbrellas clashing, shoes splashing, voices muttering. But amid the river of bodies rushing to work, one figure sat still at the foot of the old stone bridge. His clothes were worn, the color long faded by years of weather and struggle. His hair, once black and neat, was matted from the drizzle. His name was Elias Rowan, a man most people classified with one word: beggar. He sat with a paper cup placed in front of him, not because he wanted pity, but because he needed enough coins for a meal. His back leaned against the cold wall. His eyes, once filled with ambition, now looked like windows to a soul that barely remembered what hope felt like. People passed by without noticing him, except for one boy, a young student, no older than 10, stood under a bright yellow umbrella. He stared at Elias with a mixture of curiosity and concern. After a moment, he placed a sandwich wrapped in foil beside the paper cup. "Here, mister," the boy said. "It's from my lunchbox. You can have it." Elias forced a weak smile. "Thank you, kid." The boy nodded shyly and ran off to catch up with his mother, leaving Elias alone again. He looked at the sandwich. His hands trembled, not from hunger, but from something deeper: shame, gratitude, a reminder of how far he had fallen. Once, he had a career. Once, he had a home. Once, he had dreams, but life, as it often does, had dealt him a storm of losses so heavy that he had stopped fighting altogether. A life that fell apart 5 years earlier. Elias's life looked nothing like this. He was an assistant manager at a growing tech company. His colleagues respected him for his calm demeanor and sharp mind. He was engaged to a woman he deeply loved, Lena. They had plans to buy a house, start a family, travel to new places. Everything felt like it was heading in the right direction, until the day tragedy struck. His mother, his closest family, fell seriously ill. Hospital bills piled high. Elias worked overtime, borrowed money, sold his belongings, but despite everything, she passed away one cold November night. The grief shattered him. In the months that followed, Lena tried to support him, but Elias withdrew from everyone. He stopped communicating, stopped caring about deadlines, stopped showing up to meetings. His performance collapsed, and the company eventually let him go. Then Lena left, not out of cruelty, but because she couldn't pull him out of a darkness he refused to escape. One by one, pieces of his life fell away until he was left with nothing but grief, loneliness, and an overwhelming belief there is no point anymore. That belief became the seed of his downfall. He lost his home. He lost his direction, and slowly, he stopped trying. The mindset that keeps you down. Elias believed life had chosen him to suffer. Every morning he woke with the same thought: nothing will change. I am stuck like this. People like me don't get another chance. And because he believed it, he never looked for jobs. He stopped talking to people. He stopped searching for opportunities. He simply sat at the same spot on the bridge day after day, surviving instead of living. Didn't he realize that the greatest prison in the world is the mind that refuses to change? The man who approached one evening, as the sun dipped behind the skyline. An older man approached Elias. His clothes were simple but clean, and he carried no umbrella despite the drizzle. He stood there for a moment, studying Elias with thoughtful eyes. "Son," the man said gently, "why do you sit here every day?" Elias sighed. "Because this is my life now." "Is that what you believe?" the man asked. Elias frowned. "It's not about belief, it's reality." The old man smiled, not a mocking smile, but one filled with understanding. Reality, he said, is shaped by what you believe. Your thoughts create the world you live in. Elias scoffed. Don't start with motivational talk. I've had enough. But the man didn't leave. Instead, he sat beside Elias, rain soaking into his shirt. You think you have nothing left, he said softly, but you still have the most powerful thing in the world. And what is that? Your mind. Elias rolled his eyes. My mind? It hasn't helped me much. That is because you've been using it against yourself. Those words pierced him like a blade, sharp, direct, undeniable. The man continued, a falling mindset makes a falling life. A rising mindset creates a rising future. Change your thoughts, and your destiny will shift with them. Elias stared at him. Do I know you? Elias asked. No, the man said with a smile. But I know your story, because thousands of men fall the same way you did, not because life defeats them, but because they believe they are defeated. He stood up and placed a small, folded piece of paper beside Elias. Come to this address tomorrow at 10 a.m. if you want your life back. Why should I? Elias asked. Because, the man said calmly, you are not done yet, and deep down, you know it. Without another word, the old man walked away, slowly disappearing into the rain. The decision. Elias picked up the paper. It read, The Lighthouse Center Room 204 Personal Renewal Workshop. He almost laughed. A workshop? For someone like him? No, he muttered, this is stupid. He tossed the paper aside and folded his arms. But the words of the mysterious man refused to leave his mind. A falling mindset makes a falling life. Change your thoughts, and your destiny will shift. That night, Elias lay curled under the bridge, unable to sleep. The cold wind bit his skin. The sound of cars roared above him. But nothing was louder than his own thoughts. What if he is right? What if I am the one trapping myself here? What if I could change? For the first time in years, a spark of possibility flickered in his chest. A small spark, but enough to make him stand up at sunrise, brush off the dirt, and walk toward the address on the paper. He didn't know it yet, but this single decision, the decision to try, was the beginning of everything. The Lighthouse Center. The building looked old but inviting. A sign on the glass door read, Welcome to a new beginning. Elias hesitated. Part of him wanted to turn back, until a voice called out, You made it. It was the same old man from the bridge. Elias swallowed hard. I wasn't sure, but you came, the man said. That as the first shift. Inside the room were 10 chairs arranged in a circle. The group consisted of different people, young, old, men, women, each carrying their own burdens. The old man introduced himself. My name is Gideon Hale. I help people rebuild their inner world so they can rebuild their outer one. Today is not a lecture, it is a mirror. I will show you the thoughts that have been shaping your life. He turned to Elias. Would you like to share your story? Elias's throat tightened. His instinct was to stay silent, to hide, to avoid feeling the pain again. But something inside him whispered, shift, and he spoke. He talked about losing his mother, his job, he talked about the hopelessness, the shame, the nights spent in cold darkness. He confessed the belief that had imprisoned him. I thought my life was over. The room was silent. Then Gideon said, Your life didn't end, Elias, your mindset did. Elias felt something crack open inside him, as if a window long sealed had finally been touched by fresh air. The lesson that changed everything. Gideon picked up a glass cup and placed it on the table. This cup, he said, represents your mind. He filled it halfway with clean water. When you were younger, you believed in possibilities. Your mind held clarity and hope. Then he took a bag of dark soil and poured some into the glass. The water turned muddy. These, he said, are the negative thoughts you accepted. I am powerless, I am broken, I am worthless, nothing will change. You drank from this mindset every day. He looked at Elias, and so your life became a reflection of your thoughts. Elias stared at the muddy water, his heart tightening. Can the water be cleaned? Gideon asked the room. A woman replied, yes, but it takes time. Exactly. Gideon said, you purify it by adding new thoughts, new beliefs, new actions drop by drop. He poured clean water into the muddy cup. Slowly, very slowly, the water began to lighten. That, he said, is how you change a destiny. Elias felt tears filling his eyes, tears not of sadness, but of recognition. For the first time since his life fell apart, he understood something powerful. He was not doomed, he was not finished, he was simply stuck in a mindset that no longer served him, and mindsets can change. A new beginning. After the workshop ended, Gideon walked beside Elias. You have work to do, he said. Hard work, but you can rise again. Elias nodded. Tell me what to do. Gideon smiled. It begins with one commitment. Every day, you will choose thoughts that lift you, not destroy you. That is your foundation. Elias breathed deeply. For the first time in years, he felt his lungs fill not only with air but with purpose. He didn't know how long the journey would be. He didn't know if he would succeed. But he knew one thing: he was no longer the man sitting hopelessly under a bridge. He was a man who had taken the first step, the step that would eventually transform his entire destiny.